SAP TechEd session. So I got the opportunity to meet the HCI lead, the product owner from SAP. And he exclaimed regarding your question on the first training day, wherein you asked me that under the Discover tab, all the iFlows that we see provided by SAP, are they restricted, or is there any comprehensive list of all the iFlows available to you? So there is a place. It is cloudintegration.hana.ondemand.com. So that's the URL wherein you need to have an S user ID to log into that, and it will give you. So it is only for discovering the content that SAP has provided. And the second question I got clarified was that is it based on the subscription? So that was my idea based on the experience that I had with me. But today confirmed that no, they are not restricted based on the subscription that you have. So the only restriction from an HCI point of view that we have is that, for example, if you have bought HCI as a bundle from, I'm sorry, I got distracted. So HCI, if you have purchased as a bundle package along with SuccessFactors, so the business constraint is that one of the end of the integration should at least be pointing to SuccessFactors. So that is more on a contract level, I believe, but from a technical perspective, we do not have any kind of restrictions as such.
Great, great, Aditya. Thank you very much. And I saw the complete video, the complete training video of yesterday, and it was very much productive to me as well. Sorry for yesterday, I had to run for some emergency.
Well, so that's absolutely fine. I mean, that was just something we were explaining.
Yeah, not a problem.
Okay, so what's there in for today, Aditya? We can start now and let people join in.
Sure. So today I can cover up the one of the points that was left in the earlier sessions was the externalized parameters. We never had a chance to discuss that, so maybe I can cover that. And also I saw an email from Mahesh, I believe.
Mahesh, yeah.
So, yeah, he mentioned that there are a few of the scenarios, if I can cover those. So I'm not sure whether I would be able to build all the iFlows that he has mentioned on the scenarios, but at least I can walk through the connectors that we have on those. At least we'll get a fair idea on how to configure a connector for, let's say, email or SFTP, these kind of connections. And based on that, we can directly go ahead and maybe as an exercise, you can try it over the tenant, if that is okay. Otherwise,
yeah. Okay, so let's start then.
Okay, sure. So I'll just quickly share my screen. So please let me know when you're able to view my screen. I actually have a few of the changes going on in the current Eclipse that I have opened. So I'll just change it back to the earlier one. So it will lead to the same iFlow that we discussed yesterday under the iFlow walkthrough scenario. So I'll just go ahead and first work on the externalized parameters. Maybe I can just show you how it works. Okay. So the basic idea of externalized parameters, as we discussed in the previous sessions, is that we need to provide the user flexibility to change any of the parameters that are being used in the iFlow. And those parameters could be anything ranging from filter criteria or selection restriction to the place where the system is pointing currently. So as you saw that already SAP provides under the configure tab, it identifies the senders and the receivers, and you have an option of changing the connectivity details at the configure level itself. But at the same time, I would okay, I'm sorry, I got distracted again on the chat. So also at the same time, let there be a few of the conditions which are necessarily not a filter criteria, but maybe some kind of a conditional routing which the end user might know how to change. For example, if the user ID is blank. So these kind of conditions we can always provide as externalized parameters, and we can later on query it in the iFlow, set it to a property, and use that property to have, use that property in the conditional routing step. So these are the use cases, though as of now, I have only seen them being used in the filter and the selection criteria only. But still, we would try and maybe utilize it for any kind of property setting. So I'll just go ahead and open. I think I came into the wrong workspace. I'm sorry. I should have opened the demo workspace. I think it is. Let's do this. So I would still work on the same iFlow that we built for the web service. Let me just do the configuration real quick. Okay, there we have it. Oh, I should have explained that as well. Okay, yeah. So that was one of the steps. I'm sorry, I may have forgotten to cover this as well. So you can import any of the existing iFlows that are currently deployed onto your tenant using these steps. So click on the file menu. Once you have opened the workspace and the perspective is set to integration designer, you can just click on the file menu and click on import. Under SAP HANA Cloud Integration, you'll see Integration Content Archive. You can hit next, and either you can select it from the local file system, which you might have downloaded from the web UI. Otherwise, there's no need in case if you have it deployed already onto the tenant. You can simply select the tenant management node, and it will automatically populate the tenant ID, and you can select the iFlow that you wish to download in your Eclipse. Once you click on finish, it creates a project as you just now saw. So yeah, that also could be beneficial. I mean, these are easily available in the help documentation that we have, but still. Okay, so here I would just create an additional property. Add, create, let's say the user entry. And the way that we define and externalize parameters is that you have two curly braces, and then you enter the external parameter name, and you close the two brackets. Okay. And once you have saved it, you click on the tab as externalized parameters. Just click on refresh. Or have I saved it? No. So there we go. There is an externalized parameter with the name user underscore entry. I'm not sure why is it showing up the brackets over there. So I'll just try and remove those. It has been a long time that I use these. So, and I'll save it again. So the way we define an externalized parameter is like you just saw, we just put in the brackets, but since here we already have, now I think they have changed the option. Earlier there was no type of the type external parameter. So now that we define an externalized parameter, so the basic meaning of this particular row is that there is a property which we are trying to set, which gets its value from an external parameter, and the externalized parameter is nothing but user underscore entry. Wherever you wish to access this externalized parameter, you can access it in the scripting or else in your conditional routing as the two curly braces, then the name, and then ending the two curly braces. That also we'll just check. So now we have user entry as one of the externalized parameters. Now, if you go into the configure screen, it gives you a very nice graphical display of a text box, wherein, or an input box rather, wherein you can enter the value. But since this is the Eclipse view, so we can enter the value over here as itself. This is externalized parameter. Okay, then I'll just go ahead into the script. And make use of this one plus let's take it as so this should ideally give us the user entry value, which is getting its value from the externalized parameter. I'll just verify that the name is correct. U and E are in caps. Okay, I'll just save it. Now, Bakao, would you be able to help me test it through SoapUI?
Okay.
Okay, so I'll just deploy this latest version, and maybe you can just call the web service once it is deployed. So let me just go ahead and see it on the IFM app. It should take some time to refresh. So once you deploy the web service, just ensure once in the services tab that the web service endpoint URL is reflected the way we expect it to. Because sometimes it may take some time to get reflected over here because of the other tasks that may go on the tenant. And in case if it doesn't, then you can just go ahead and check the tail log. So that is another debugging point that we have. So like as of now, it hasn't refreshed correctly. So you can try to deploy it again. Sometimes it takes some time to reflect. Refresh node. Like for example, it is not showing up over here. So can do is you can click on the window, click on Show View, and click on Others. Under Integration Operations Monitoring, you find View as Tail Log. So you can click OK on it and just try and select 50 KB of the last one and just check for sample. Okay, it hasn't. It says it has been triggered for deployment. Maybe the tenant is a bit slow. Pakao, can you try to ping the service once through SoapUI, please?
Yeah, can you paste the endpoint for me?
Yes.
Could you just paste it on the chat?
Yes, I'll do that. Just a moment.
Okay.
So that is the endpoint that we have. I'll just undo. Otherwise, there is another place that you can check. You can select the tenant management node, click on the tasks view, and just search with your thing. So it says that at 9:54 p.m. India time, it was successfully deployed. So yes, they are successful, but somehow the endpoint is not getting reflected over here.
So there's an IO problem. Response code 401.
401 is authorization issue. Okay.
This XML exception, Java IO exception, server return HTTP response code 401.
401 is unauthorized. So maybe you need to check the credentials that you're trying to ping the web service with.
I mean, we're just setting up the project. I'm just setting up the project and it's prompting me for the wizard file. So I put in the wizard file.
Okay, can you, can you share your screen, please?
Okay, just one moment.
Quickly look into that.
Can you see my screen?
Yes, this WSDL would not work. So just open any of the web service calls that you might have created earlier. Just open any one of them.
Let me try mockups, subservice. Okay.
No, I mean, we won't be changing the request as such.
Okay.
Yeah. So you can, no. Just open the request. The one that you sent, yeah. Any one of these should be fine. The one that you least use. Logout or is valid session or anything. Get jobs. Yeah. Yep. Any one of the requests should be fine. Yep. So just change the endpoint over here. Just take the endpoint that I sent you. And just change the SOAP envelope to reflect the correct one. Otherwise, that should be fine. I mean, we are anyway not checking the SOAP envelope. So you can just execute it. I think the credentials again, we missed them.
So the credentials, right?
Yeah. At the bottom, where you have headers attachment,
yeah.
One is authorization. So you can,
this mark, right? So
you can enter the S user ID.
Pardon me?
The S user ID that you use for HCI.
Okay. 1 moment. I need to get that from. I've got These here.
Meanwhile, I'm still trying to get whether the web services endpoint is visible now. It is not still.
And I guess I need a password now.
Okay, the password, maybe I can just.
Oh, you want to take over
Yeah,
it?
I'll just iron you that one.
Oh. Can you see my screen?
Yes, Prakash. Can you click on the headers that were returned on the right-hand side bottom? Headers, 7 headers were returned.
Password is wrong.
No, we need to give the S user at company ID, right? No?
No, Deepika, this is the HCI S user ID that we are using. Can you ping the password to Bakao, maybe?
The latest one that I have, I'll just ping it.
And still it is not reflecting in Eclipse. That is strange.
Eclipse is like that, keeps changing.
Have you sent me something?
Not yet, not yet, not yet.
Okay. Oh, sorry. I think I got you wrong. I got you wrong. Just one moment.
Check with this. This I should have the latest one, I guess. Okay.
I think we're good now. It says no services were found.
Okay, Bakao, I'm just trying to redeploy it. Actually, there is one of the process. Yeah, there is actually one of the process running which is taking a lot of time. So
okay.
Somehow the web service is not getting reflected. So ideally, it should always reflect in the services tab of the IFL map mode. If it is not, that means that there has been some kind of an issue. But I see that it was deployed successfully, but I'm not sure why the web service is not showing up. Okay, anyway, we can take this time. Bakao, if you can just stop the screen share, I'll just go ahead and work on something else. Okay, so maybe I'll just cover how to upload any of the Eclipse projects into Web UI.
And vice versa, right?
Yeah. The other one, I just, okay, from Web UI onto your Eclipse, that also we can cover. So I'll just open the Web UI. And Deepika, meanwhile, can you please IM me the password as well, please?
Yeah, sure. I'll just think it.
So I do have the S user ID here. I think it was changed recently, was it?
Yeah, every time it's asking for the same thing, right? It's just getting, it's not working, and we reset the password recently, Sudhir.
Okay, this was the one that I used. So,
Because I tried to use that in Eclipse now and did a test connection, it worked actually.
okay.
Yeah.
That is the same one I sent to Bakao as well.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
not
what I'm
sure
saying.
why.
I used it. I didn't copy it properly. I missed out
Okay.
the first word.
Okay. Okay, so here maybe you can create a new integration package which reflects something like custom iFlow training. And you can just click on add. Under add, you can click on process integration. And to get the file, so you can click on upload and provide the name that you wish to see in the iFlow itself. So something like I'll just put it as sample training. And at the same time, you can go ahead with Eclipse, just click on sample one training, right click on it, which is the folder name. So right click on that and click on export. Once you click on export, you can click on general and click on the archive file. Do a next. Once you have selected, you can browse and place it on your desktop as sample training one. I'll just save it on the desktop, click on finish. Please ignore Hello.
Hello?
Yeah, sorry, there was some connection issue. So
Okay.
I got disconnected. Okay. So once we have extracted the files onto our desktop, we just enter the folder and you will find different files and folders over here. So just select bin, project, and the build properties, and you can delete them from this particular folder. So once you have deleted the bin and the two files, you just need to have meta-inf and the source. Just select these two and zip them. I'm not sure. Okay, there it is. So you just send them to a zip folder. Okay, sample one training. That was pretty quick. Just rename it to whatever name you would like. Sample one training.
But that source folder seems to be empty, right? Aditya?
I'm sorry, Bakao?
The source folder
Yeah.
is kind of empty. There's nothing in it.
Is it empty? No. The source folder will have all your artifacts over here. So you'll have main. Under main,
Oh,
you
okay.
have resources.
Oh,
And
okay,
all
okay,
the
sorry. I thought it was empty.
Okay. So we have sample training 2 as the file that I wish to upload. Now you go back to the HCI web UI. You click on the browse button and you can navigate to the file that we just created. So this is the one. I select it, click on open and OK it. So it will upload this particular iFlow into our web UI and it would be available for us as one of the single repository places. So you can save the integration package and you can continue uploading different iFlows if you'd like in the same folder itself. They won't interfere with each other. As I mentioned earlier, that this can serve as one of the places wherein you can store all your custom iFlows to differentiate it from the same named any of the standard iFlows that may exist, though there is a very rare chance, but still. So once we have done this, we can click on the button. You can click on configure and it should ideally give you, oh, okay. So maybe it doesn't allow us then.
If we save using the same name, does it overwrite or you just create another version?
Well, it usually overwrites, but I mean, I've never tried it though, Bakao, but usually we try and keep all the artifacts which are custom developed by us for the customer in one of the folders. Like instead of custom iFlow training, we might rename it to the client name _ custom iFlows, something like that.
What I'm saying is now you have sample _ training artifacts coming in. Supposing I've done a modification from my Eclipse again, I want to upload back into this package in web UI, and I didn't change the name. I didn't change the name in Eclipse. Can I still upload to override what I already have in the web UI, or I need to use a different name entirely?
Well, you can delete the existing artifact and then upload your new modified version. Okay.
Because I was just looking at using this same opportunity as like a backup folder or something, you know.
Okay. So if you see here, it is still starting.
Still starting, yeah.
Sample _ training. And it says the camel context didn't start, maybe because the system is a bit slow today, so it came an error. The camel context didn't start. So you can try and restart the iFlow from here itself. Sometimes Eclipse does corrupt all the flows that we have. Yep, again, the integration flow status is unknown. There are type of errors we have. I'll just change the value and try. Okay, now we have it. So Bakao, can you try it now? It has been started now and it is showing up the endpoint as well.
Aditya?
Yes, Bakao?
Yeah, I was saying that this is a key learning point. What has happened now? Because, if you are somebody who is still new in the system, you start panicking that, oh, what's going on?
Well, I would have to say that they would learn the hard way.
Okay, we still have a small problem. Okay.
Yeah, so these kind of issues, I mean, I have seen the whole iFlow gone corrupted. That was my first experience with Eclipse or HCI, I would rather say. So there was a common data model that we were trying to build to hire employees into the system. And for hiring the employees, we had close to 13 SuccessFactors calls, along with all the validations, etc., written in the scripts and mapping functions as well with the routers. As I was explaining that we need to check the status of the first call and then do the second call. So that time, SAP that time had a constraint that the checks job that runs to check all the shapes and compile the iFlow before it is deployed, that had a constraint that it could not process more than 11 routing shapes within your iFlow. I mean, that was weird, but I learned it the hard way. I had to recreate the same iFlow 7 times, so copy and paste the same sequence all the times.
Wow.
So
I sent something to you. I think it returned some. Just check the chat.
okay. And okay, so it has failed. Let's see what is the failure point. Okay, I'll just share my screen then.
Okay.
Anyway, you can just send me the response next time it comes. So now the message processing log has the sample 1 training has failed, and we can see that it says it has failed because of Codehouse Groovy wait. Process data underscore closure 1. That seems to be strange. There is only one script, and I think we are good with that. Oh, my bad. That's absolutely my bad. Sorry about that. User underscore entry. I get it. That was a rookie mistake. I'll just try to deploy it again. Check the status over here. Okay, Bakao, can you try it now, please? Okay, it says it is completed.
We are good.
You're good. Can you please paste the
Response, right? Okay.
Chat? Let's see if we get the value over there. Okay.
Okay. Pasted.
Okay. So we have external parameter value coming in as test. I'll just copy this and I will paste it on a notepad so that everybody can view it. Just a moment. So body. Okay. Okay, so this is the response that we have received. And the below has been added by script, and under that we have the external parameter. Okay.
So all of this is still working with the payload, the original payload, right? Hello, Aditya?
Yes, Pakao. I mean, original payload, I actually didn't get that. Original payload when you say.
No, I'm saying that in a real life scenario, you know, where along the chain of with individual shapes, we're modifying, you know, in the script, the message body, and we're setting it back. So more or less like we're adding, we can remove and all that to the message body, right? You remember we went into the first script with a body.
Yes.
Then we created a new body called root finder. We set it back into the body in the script.
Yep.
Now, somewhere down the line, we've included external parameters. Okay.
Yep.
So we're still acting on the body of the message.
Absolutely. So the one that I have highlighted on my screen, that is the original body, and we just
Correct.
added one of the nodes to say
Correct.
that this has been added from content modifier.
Correct.
And there was another parameter which we added to identify that this has been added by script. And
Correct.
we logged the same body for our reference purposes. And then we added the external parameter as well. So it was returned as a correct response.
Interesting.
Okay. That works now.
Aditya?
Yes, Pakao.
So can you just open that content modifier? I just want to quickly understand something.
Yep.
Okay, here. P-body, external parameter, user entry. Okay, P user entry. Then the externalized parameter, I've all stepped we at that, you know, right there. Hello, Aditya.
Yes.
I was saying that, can you just click on the externalized parameter on this shape?
Okay.
Okay, this is the external parameter. Okay, good. I'm with you now.
Okay. And the values, you can set it over here. So the value could be from, it can be a static value, or else, I mean, externalized parameter usually should have some kind of a static value. I'll just have to check why is it not showing up in the configure option of our custom iFlow. So ideally, whenever we have any kind of externalized parameter, when we click on configure, it is smart enough to detect that there is an attribute which needs to be filled in by the user while running.
During runtime, right?
Yep. So maybe there was some kind of an issue during the initial deployment that might have caused it to go corrupt or something. So we'll have to check that. But ideally, this is the way that we can go ahead and make use of any externalized parameters and assign their values to different shapes. And we can use them in our iFlow for routing purposes or filter purposes. So now once we have it in the property, like I was able to assign it to a property which I used in the script. On the same lines, you can assign it to a property. You can use it in your custom query builder, again a script, or otherwise you can use it as one of the routing steps by assigning the condition on the message property. So that way, any of the externalized parameter values which has been entered by the user, it can be used in your iFlow effectively. So any of the questions on this? Anything that you would like me to reiterate or maybe explain in detail? Anyone?
I'm good, Aditya. Rajdeep here. I'm fine with it.
Okay, sure. So Rajdeep, these kind of issues, I mean, we primarily face with Eclipse. Sometimes the iFlow go corrupt. Sometimes a few of the shapes I've seen going corrupt. If you'd like, I can try to corrupt the iFlow. If you'd like, we can always download another copy of it.
Yeah, that would be nice.
So
Yeah,
I have seen from my past experiences that when we add a content modifier and we do not attach any shapes to it, so that causes the iFlow usually to go corrupt. It will first throw an error, some kind of, until they came up with a different release which might be using it. So nope. A bit of robust now, is it? Okay, so we don't have any kind of actions maintained in that. Earlier, it used to throw us an error that you need to at least assign a property or a body to it. Otherwise, there's no use of keeping a content modifier in the system.
Okay, so Aditya, how did you recognize that if there's an error or not? Okay, if there's a red cross or something like that happening in the UI?
Absolutely. So that is for the error only.
Okay,
But,
in the request reply. Okay.
Absolutely. But whenever an iFlow goes corrupt, that iFlow, for example, this is a content modifier shape as of now. Let's say the iFlow went corrupt somehow because of some of the checks job or anything. It usually happens with the complex iFlows that we have. So in that case, the whole shape, the red dots that you see around, it turns into a dark blue or a navy blue color. And it's a very thick line that surrounds it. The name content modifier would be disappeared. There would be nothing. It would be just a blank box with a dark blue border. And it just, I mean, when you double click on it, it asks you to create a mapping on that.
And this happens on save.
Yep, I have seen it on save at times when you close the workspace and you try and reopen the workspace. I've seen it there as well. Then sometimes when the checks job is running, I have even seen scenarios wherein, let's say you have 12 content modifiers, like more than 5, I would say. So when you click on save, there is automatically, it tries to run a checks job at the bottom, which checks all the shapes. So it touches basically all the shapes. And in the meantime, let's say if you try and make any changes to one of the content modifiers, somehow it corrupts all the content modifiers at the same time while that is running. Now, this is a very small iFlow to try and test that, because as soon as I click on save, it just completes in like no time.
Yeah.
When I click on save, it just runs the checks. Yeah.
So is there any sort of rollback point here? Because as far as I know, Eclipse, I don't think so. It should be there. But do you?
Yeah, there is. I'm not sure. I've never seen that there is a rollback point for this.
A break point. Okay. Okay.
I mean, we cannot roll back to previous version. I even tried debugging the, not debugging. Yeah, you can call it debugging. So I clicked on the iFlow. I tried to open it with the XML editor that we have, or default editor for that matter. So this, I'm sorry. This is not the default editor. Maybe you can click on text editor for this. And it gives you, this is nothing but an XML version or an XML, which is the iFlow. So it gives you the link between the different shapes that you have. There are groups which identify which is the source and what is the target, and what are the different kinds of properties that they have. So I tried debugging this somehow to maybe get the iFlow in a previous state, but it doesn't work. I mean, once corrupted, it is always corrupted. So this gives me a point to show you that it is of the type external parameter, and the value is, look, I just entered over there user_entry. But this is the way HCI gets the externalized parameters, like I mentioned. So maybe there was a recent change in the content modifier wherein now we need not add the curly brackets.
This is, yeah.
Aware of that. So you have these, I mean, this is the way that you can access and externalize parameters in a parameter in any conditions that you might use.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah.
And these are the different activities. So it basically parses through the XML and it tries to check all the properties and things in the checks job. And that is when the shapes used to get corrupted. Now I see that they are not even throwing an error when the content modifier has blank values. One more thing I've learned is that whenever you are, let's say, for example, I need to add another shape between the content modifier and script. Let it be a mapping shape, for example. So instead of clicking on this already existing route and deleting it, I would rather say that you should always drag the existing route and create a new one from mapping to script. That works very well. And it may be a bit of tedious task at times, wherein you have one of the shapes at the very bottom of the screen and the other one at the very top, wherein you need to drag and make changes. But still, this is the preferred method that you should always use while you are developing any kind of custom requirements. So do not delete the existing links, especially with the routing shape. With the routing shape, there is, okay, let me touch base on that as well. So I'll just add one of the routers over here. So usually we tend to create a default route for any of the routers that we have. So let's say I'm creating the first route I created, I mark it as default. And the second route I create, I just mark it as one of the XML conditions wherein, let's say, query /text is not equal to test. So I know this condition would be met at times, and the other times it should directly route to the script. In the cases wherein it is not equal to test, I should be going through the mapping. Now, this seems to be a perfectly valid scenario, but when you click on the router shape, it gives you an order of processing the routes. So you should always ensure that your default route is the last route to be created in this shape, because the order of execution matters at times wherein you are making use of the terminate message shape, or else sometimes when you are putting directly onto the end message, it tends to raise an exception because it has already executed the default route. Then it starts to execute the conditions that you have in case of multiple conditions. And at the very end, when it didn't find any of the routes matching with the conditions, it just goes on to the end message, takes the default route, but it throws an error stating that you never handled this kind of a scenario. Whereas we have it handled by the default route, but somehow it has already passed through that. So instead of having it created at the very beginning, always tend to create the default route at the very end. So that helps a lot. And at times it does ask you for a name to be entered over here. So that way, once you see it now you see that the order of execution is correct. First, it needs to check the condition. If it is not met, then it should be going on to the default route.
Okay.
Aditya,
Another pointer. Yes, Agni.
I was thinking, Mahesh has, he came up with some scenarios, right?
Yes.
Email. So can we have those scenarios, if possible?
Yep, I can maybe try and send an email in this sample iFlow itself. So I'll
Okay.
delete it. Because I do have the email parameters readily available with me, so I can quickly refer to them, and you can create. Okay, there is an information over here, it seems. Okay, so I'll just take another receiver over here, and I would rename it to be an email receiver. And from the end shape, you can just drag one of the places. Or would you like me to send an email within the iFlow, like within the processing of an iFlow? Would that be okay?
Yes.
Aditya, can you repeat the question? I didn't hear.
Yes, Aditya, that would be good. In between, right? You mean to say whatever output you're getting for the XML that you would be sending.
Correct.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah. That also
So
would be
let's say
fine.
just before the script, you want to analyze that what is the error that you are, let's say the script is changing the XML in a particular way, which is not resulting in the desired output. So as a step in debugging, you cannot enable the trace because you are running for like 3,000 employees. So in those kind of cases, you would like to have an intimation sent to the developer from the system saying this is the body before script and this is the body after script. So you drag a request slice shape. You can click on switch to send. So it switches it to send shape. Then again, wherever you want this kind of a connection, select this and include it basically in the iFlow. Then again, you can, as I mentioned, if you already have a receiver, you can use the same receiver. The channel names should not be the same. Even if they are blank, they should not be blank and same. So the values on the channel names should be different on a single receiver if you are using. And then you can just drag one of the shapes onto the send parameter. Name it as email sender. Select the adapter type as mail. Click on OK. You can leave all the other fields to default. The address over here, I'll just copy it from the existing email connection that we have. Okay. So these are provided by SAP and they are available over Google at times. So the protection, since it is by SAP, we can just leave it to off, and there shouldn't be any kind of authentication while accessing this particular mail server, because this is an open mail server provided by SAP. Then the email should always be coming in from mail@mail.hanaondemand.com. So this is the email address which is which does not require any kind of authentication on this particular server. Then you can enter your own user ID. I'm sorry, email ID. And by default, the mail body is set to $n.body. Okay, so you can change it to reflect any kind of things that you wish to notify in your email body. So you can refer to the externalized parameters like user_entry is one of those. Then anything else?
So there is any way that we can send this XML as an attachment, or it just goes in the body of the email?
Absolutely, we can send it as an attachment. So I have worked on one of the scenarios wherein there were there was a requirement wherein they wanted a status log file as a tabular format within the content of the email, as well as they wanted to have that particular thing as an attachment. I would just send that email to my account and maybe I can show you that once.
Maybe the output of this iFlow, we can put it as an attachment, and the in between the before this thing that the step that we have put, we can put it as a body of the XML so that we can see different types of emails coming out. Is that okay, Aditya?
Sure.
Can we have both of them?
Well, I can do that.
Yeah.
I can do that.
Just to see the difference. Yeah.
Sample email between the iFlow. And here also, I'll just notify the user entry over here instead of the body. Okay. So this is the sample email between the iFlow. I have made all the configurations. I just need to click on save. Once I've saved it, since I'll be utilizing the same mail, so I'll just copy it. And so at the end, just because it is sending as a response, still I would like to try it. I've never tried this kind of a scenario wherein we are sending a response back to the web service at the end shape, but also I'm sending an email. So let me try to do that. Okay, I'll just save this as an email template and then apply the same template onto this particular channel. So it will have all the configurations done. As I mentioned, there cannot be two same names. So let's try and save it. It throws you an error. Stating same channel name cannot be specified. Okay. So you can enter it as.
So Aditya.
Yes.
Yes, something instructive is happening here from the iFlow. It seems to me that unlike what we have in PI environment, the receiver and the business systems they're more or less like logical names. Like in PI environment where you need to give it some specific names.
Yep.
Okay. Here you didn't append any business name or business service or business component to the sender system or to the receiver system. That's why you're able to point different channels to the same receiver system, right?
Yep.
Interesting.
Well, actually, Bakao, I mean, as I mentioned, that receivers, they are just the logical receivers. But
correct. That's
what we have. So you can have multiple. I mean, I would say that you should always logically differentiate between the systems.
Okay.
The receiver is receiving both the channels are email, so that's okay. And we have clearly maintained it as email receiver.
Okay.
So in a more complex scenario wherein you have multiple interfaces going on, let's say, for example, you have user entity query or and at the same time you are trying to send an email. So ideally you can even send it to the same receiver, but you should always differentiate between the two.
Okay, at least to encourage readability for the flow to be readable.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay. Hello, Aditya. One second. Can we have our own SMTP defined to send an email?
Yes, absolutely. That is the idea about using HCI. So in production system, only for debugging purposes, SAP gives us this email access. But if you are actually sending the production data, because it is not, we are not doing any kind of transport level security, and also we are not doing any kind of authentication against the email account. So
okay, can you go to that mail configuration if you don't mind?
Yep.
So the address mail.od.sap.biz. So is it mandatory that I need to use that, or I can use like mail.stixis.com?
Yes, you can use mail.stixis.com. That will work.
Okay.
But for production, they should be there, right?
For production, no. I mean, this is only for your testing purposes. Never ever should you send any kind of production client data onto this particular mail server, because this is only for our testing purposes, that the email connectivity, how it can be, like I'm currently showing you how an email can be configured. So only for those purposes, or else in case if you're trying to debug, that is okay. Because in test systems, there can be like 80% similarity, but usually we try and abstract the business critical details in the test systems. So that is okay as well. But as soon as you move to production, you should ensure that all the emails going on to the server are barred. I mean, you should delete those shapes at all. And in case if you have any kind of a need, you should always approach the maybe the client, or else approach your own organization and ask them that, do you have any kind of mail server that I can use in my channel configuration, because I need to send it for debugging purposes or anything. But instead of that, otherwise you can always make use of data stores in these steps.
Okay, Aditya, can you go to the configuration again?
Yeah.
If you come down come down a little bit. So there manually you're saying let aditya.sharma.outlook.com. So if you want to make this dynamic, how do I do that? So an example, say I have like
let's do it.
50,000
Right
users
away.
and you can email. Okay. Probably not.
Property.
Let's try and do it. Even I'm not sure. I've never tried it, but still, always a good thing to do. This also could be one of the use cases that we have. Address what must be a valid email address. Okay, so it doesn't allow you.
No parameters.
Yeah. So it has to be some kind of a static value that you need to have.
So if there is a scenario there where I'm going to send multiple people.
Just a
You have to
moment.
put a semicolon maybe.
Let's try with this. This works. And here we anyway have it assigned. I think P user entry is already assigned. And P body, let me just check it over here. Yeah, P body is correct. Okay. So I will try to deploy it. There we go. Another example of failures that you might encounter while trying to deploy iFlows. And let's go ahead and check it over here under manage content. So SAP, as of now, they support almost 80 to 90% of shapes in their web UI, apart from a few of the shapes which they haven't named. But whenever you have used those shapes in your iFlow, you cannot edit it in the web UI.
Aditya, can you repeat that again?
Yep. So SAP, as of now, supports 80 to 90% of the shapes that you receive, that you can configure in Eclipse.
Okay.
You can edit them in web UI as well. So you can edit your whole iFlow, but the remaining 10 to 15% that they claim, they haven't named them. But those shapes, if you are using in your Eclipse iFlow, when you upload it to web UI, the whole iFlow is turned into a read-only state.
Okay. Okay.
And it's not supported by web UI. And Bakao, that being said, can you please try and test or the same request again? Meanwhile, I'll just open my mailbox just to check if the emails have come in.
There's an error.
Okay.
To directly. Okay, let me just paste the error.
No, that should be fine. I can always check it over here.
Okay, good.
So it failed.
We can see your screen. Aditya?
So just one minute ago, actually, I forgot to save the value aditya.sharma, my email ID. I forgot to save that value. So I just entered it. I never clicked on save.
Oh, enter. Okay.
Now it has been updated. Now I'll deploy it again. And I'll let you know when to rerun it, please. Just a moment. Still starting.
But you mentioned that whenever it is that we created in Eclipse, if we upload it back to WebUI, we can still modify the flow in WebUI, right?
Yes,
Yes.
you can modify the flow in WebUI as long as you are not using a few of the shapes which are not supported by WebUI. So
Okay.
as I mentioned, SAP hasn't mentioned what are the shapes, but the WebUI, as soon as you click on edit, it says that a few of the shapes are not supported. So switch to read-only mode.
Yeah, I'm actually just my question is towards the best practice now, because if maybe create a iFlow in Eclipse, you deploy or you upload to WebUI, you make some modification in WebUI. Do you need to bring it back to? You need to download it back to Eclipse for you to have a synchronized object, or else you might run into version problems, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. So it's just better to stick to one. I mean, I will suggest that.
Yeah. Yeah. So Bakao, can you please execute it once?
Okay, just 1 moment. Oh, God. There's still a challenge.
An error?
Yeah, there's still an error.
Okay, just a moment. Let me see that. I think
it's complaining about that sample email at the end of the iFlow.
Okay, it is because the externalized parameter contains different shapes. So what I'll do is I'll just comment out
we can't see your screen anymore.
Yep, just give me a moment.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm just removing the externalized parameter from the script because since those are special characters, the @ symbol, so it gives an error because it is unable to compile it as valid XML.
Am I the only one? I think I can see your screen, right?
No, Bakao.
I haven't shared it, Bakao, because I'm accessing my email. Yeah, I'm accessing my email, so I cannot.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Yeah, I can maybe try and share just the Eclipse Designer. That would work. Okay, so. It's still starting the web service. Yes, Bakao, can you please try it again now? Okay, it failed again. Just give me a moment. Let me try and see where the error occurred. Maybe all these changes might have changed something. Final body message that you're sending. So maybe it is because the email connector at the end shape is not allowing you to get a proper response, Bakao. That could be one of the reasons. I haven't. Yeah, that is it. This could not generate the XML stream caused by
P. Unexpected parameter P.
character P.
Is it
And the
that?
P can only come from the body of the email. And the body of email says, please see attachment.
Look at that
So,
too. P underscore user
yeah.
property.
P underscore user entry.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is coming in as correct. So let me change it to $body. I'll just save it. So Mahesh, the P user entry is coming in correct because it is trying to send an email. But when it is trying to reply back to the SOAP caller, so it tries to reply with the sample body, and that is the reason it is not coming in correctly. So let's try it now. Bakao, just a moment, I'll just confirm when it has been deployed. I'm not sure whether it was started already. It has been triggered now. Okay, so Bakao, it has started now. Can you try to execute it again?
But good.
Yep.
Completed.
So that was the issue. I mean, at the end, since we were not replying with the correct value, it gave us that kind of an issue. Now let me try and search my emails. I don't see anything as of now. I hope it did take the correct values. Seems to be okay. But I haven't received any email as of now. Oops, my bad.
You check your junk folder.
Yeah, no. I had a rule. I'm sorry. I was testing it in my landscape as well. So I had a rule to delete all the emails coming in from mail.hana.ondemand.com.
Okay.
Wow.
Yep. So
I guess that email, that server from SAP is actually a relay server. You just don't relay. That's all.
okay. Well, I'll just share the whole desktop now. Please let me know when you're able to view it.
Okay, where to view it?
Okay, so this is the attachment that came in, output.txt, the specified specifically. And this is the body. We had to change it because it is a web service call. Otherwise, it usually works absolutely fine. So you need not change any of the context. You can directly go ahead and use it the way you want. And I'll just check it in the desktop. So output is again the body, which I mentioned that it should take the value from the body. So one of the examples from web service to email. I mean, email could be one of an intermediate step in any of the iFlows that you're using. So it works absolutely fine. There have been no issues encountered. And one thing, again, I would like to mention is that even though the iFlow failed at multiple times, but it failed to provide a response back to the web service caller. So by that time, the send shape was already executed. So if you see over here, all these emails coming in from 1721 up till the latest email to on 1728. So everything has been triggered in the previous failures as well. So you see everywhere you can see email between the iFlow. All the email between the iFlow which were triggered.
Okay.
And this has email at the end of the iFlow also triggered. Because the mail was triggered, but the response was response failed. So that is the reason we have them here. Okay, so that is the idea of using a send shape in between your iFlow. Whenever you want to have any kind of debugging requirements or you wish to notify any of the other systems, you can use the send email shape at the end of the iFlow or in between the iFlow. Okay. Now the send, I have used it only with the mail connector. I'm not sure whether it can be used to give a call to any of the OData services or post to any of the URLs. That is something that has yet to be explored, but I'm sure that since it allows the connections, I think it should even allow posting an XML data. Because it allows different connectors over here. So we can maybe call a SOAP web service. We can try and send it to SuccessFactors, things like that. I've never tried any one of these because send shape is primarily we make use of to just send an email to any of the users. And the symbol also symbolizes the same thing. Okay, and it says here that send does not support payload attachment. That is another thing that we have. Okay, and that was the mail connector that Mahesh requested. Let me see the other ones.
Aditya?
Yes, Pakal?
Just a quick check. Supposing we're doing a request, response service call, and we want to, can we use the mail adapter there, to make the
Request
call?
reply?
A service call, maybe like with, yeah?
Yes, Pakal. Actually, as the name suggests, request reply, it usually expects a response. So instead of using that, we make use of mail, the send shape.
Okay, okay.
And also in an actual business use case, we will always have the mail adapter at the end.
In any case, mail adapter is actually an asynchronous adapter, so we can't use that for a request response.
Yep. So it is just a push onto the
correct.
piece.
Correct.
That is the reason we make use of the send shape instead of request reply.
Okay.
I've never used it though. You can try it. Switch to request reply. Try to save it.
Mm-hmm.
It's not supported for.
Yeah, that's it. It's not supported for this adapter. Interesting. So many things to try out.
Mm-hmm. So since there is always shapes available for various functionalities that we wish to test, so that is the reason we usually do not try these combinations, the request reply with mail adapter or send with SuccessFactors. So maybe if I make use of SuccessFactors over here, it may say that send does not support this adapter. That could be one of the cases. Okay, and moving on, we have so Mahesh, is it okay if I just cover up the configuration of the adapters rather than trying out the whole scenario? Because it would take a lot of time, and I mean, I'm not sure whether we should be doing that. in interest of everyone's time. So it's, if I can just explain you the adapters, different types of adapters that we have.
Yeah,
That'd
that
be
should
okay?
be fine. That should be fine, Aditya.
Okay, sure. So let's take an example wherein you are receiving the data from SuccessFactors. Let's say this is a timer event. So if we have, sorry, at the end of the process, if we wish to create any kind of log files, so I'll just change this mail adapter to SFTP. In SFTP adapter, we have the message protocol as static and the transport protocol, as I mentioned earlier, that it currently does not support anything like a disk connector or an FTP connector. I've only seen that it only supports SFTP connectivity as of now. Under the adapter specific details, you can provide different values, like you can provide the directory, for example, HCI test scenario, test one folder. Then you can have the file name specified. It can be, as I mentioned earlier, it can be a static or a dynamic file name. It supports expressions as well. So
Aditya, one second.
Yes.
So example, if I have a special case like a unique name where we may have to use UDFs, how can we implement that here?
Absolutely. So that is what I was coming to, that you can set the file name within the iFlow. You can set it in a property and you can refer the property over here.
Okay.
There is a way that you can, there are requirements, valid business use cases, wherein let's say the file name which came in, it was a static file name. And the file name that you wish to generate would be that file name underscore output, something like that. So you need to somehow capture the file name which is coming in from the sender channel. Now this is a receiver channel, so we can easily specify the file name as dynamic property. But how do you capture the incoming file name? So there is, it is again available on the HANA help, the on-demand, hana.ondemand.com. It is available over there as well. And it has the camel context on which the whole iFlow works. It captures the file name of the incoming file. So if ever you do have a requirement, you can go ahead and search it over there. It is directly listed in one of the, in one of the helps. So I can just try and search it for you. So this is the link, prod.dps.hana.ondemand.com. And you see here, this is the camel file name. So you can enter, like the XPath is also given. So
Okay.
read by XPath from the payload or set using an expression. So you can set the file names over here, and this is, I think, the receiver part. Just a moment. This is receiver adapter. So I think that was the correct one. So you can directly go ahead and search it over here in case if you have any use case like that. So it comes in the header, camel file name. Okay, I'm sorry. This is the one that it sets as a property. We have it used in one of the iFlows, but I don't remember the exact syntax on how to read it. Maybe I can research and send it to you later on. But there is a way. It sets the camel file name, and you can directly go ahead and read it through the expression.
Okay.
That is allowed as of now. Okay. Then You can specify the option whether you wish to append the timestamp after the file name or not. So in cases of dynamic file names, I'm not sure whether it works correctly. But let's say if you have a static file name, for example, file_name.csv. So just before the extension, it appends the timestamp. It is on the same lines as the PI system or the XI system. Then we can specify the address of SFTP, something like sftp.successfactors.com. And the authentication mode, which is provided to you by the SFTP provider, whether we are making use of public key to authenticate or a basic user ID, username and password. In case of username and password, you need to provide the correct credential name, and then you can specify the timeout in milliseconds and the reconnection of attempts and delay. And you can specify whether you wish to automatically disconnect in case if you do not have multiple messages to post onto SFTP. I would recommend this to be checked always.
Okay.
But in case if you have multiple, then we shouldn't be checking this for obvious reasons that we need not want the system to open the connection all over again.
Okay.
Then you have multiple tabs as processing. So processing, you can maintain the settings like you want to change the directories stepwise, like if you have, this is to the directory levels, like first time create in one of the subfolders, then change the directory later on. Never seen a use case of this as well. Then in case if the directory does not exist, then it creates a directory for us in the file's path name, whichever is provided. Then if there is an existing file, you can either override it, append it, fail, or ignore it. And then you can also specify to use temporary file. So temporary file is nothing but like you have a big payload to be written onto the SFTP server. Then in that case, we actually tend to make use of temporary file name because we would, let's say, for example, once the file is written, there is another iFlow which is continuously polling that particular SFTP directory to read the file from there and just go ahead with the processing of that iFlow. And you know that the output of this particular iFlow would generate a file worth MBs. So instead of directly writing it onto the SFTP server, we should always make use of a temporary file name. So it will create a temporary file. Once the file is fully created, it will rename it to the actual file name that you have provided. So this is done in cases wherein you have huge payloads, wherein we know that the writing of the file might take some time and the other iFlow might get triggered with incorrect or incomplete data. So still the file is being written and somebody reads it. So that causes
Okay, can you select it, pull down? Do you have archive process in this?
Archive won't be here because this is receiver. So we are sending the file onto it. It would be in the file sender. When we are picking the file from SFTP, that is when we have the option of archiving the file after picking. So you want to delete the file or archive the file, those kind of options are available with us. Okay, I'll just tell you about the sender as well. So then you can, in the advanced parameters, you can mention the size of buffer, that how much of a data in the buffer can be transferred directly onto SFTP so that it keeps on writing that data onto the file. The buffer size, again, it should be changed only in cases wherein you have a huge file to be written worth a lot of MBs. Till 80 or 100 MB is fine, but above those, usually you should use a big buffer size because that also aids on to the processing time of the iFlow. Then the logging level on the SFTP channel, if you would like to trace it or ignore it, or just log in the warnings or the information messages. Otherwise, if you would like to trace the whole functionality, then the logging levels you can do. And then you have flatten file names, wherein it just removes the directory levels that you have. So it just creates a file on the root directory that you have created. Wherever your login authorization takes you in that SFTP directory. It just creates a file over there. We never use it again. And preventing the directory traversal, it just says that in case if we have any kind of how do I explain it? I mean, traversals would be like if you are traversing through the directories, it just replaces the whole directory structure with a unique message ID, so that you can know that, okay, this file was supposed to be written at XYZ path, but we just want it to be written with a unique ID, basically. So again, I've never used it, but that is what the SAP settings say. So I'm not sure. Usually we keep it on the default level itself. We do not change the settings until and unless there is a toll on the performance, which we definitely find is happening on the SFTP level. So we know that the whole iFlow processed pretty quickly, but when we came onto SFTP, it caused a few of the issues, maybe timeout issues or any other kind of issues. So in those kind of cases, we should change all these values which are by default provided by the adapter. Coming on to, yes, Rajdeep.
Sorry to interrupt. Can you come back to advanced section of adapters? Yeah.
Okay, sure. Just a moment. Yes.
Yeah. Just from all your experiences, projects or the current projects, what would you advise on the buffer size? Let's say when we talk about Timcanic, it was a huge implementation. So yeah. So how about that? What would be the buffer size you would recommend based on the scale of the project?
Yes. So Rajdeep, in cases like if you have a big file to be written, as I mentioned, that we have never changed any of the settings as of now, because we never had substantial proof that the SFTP adapter is taking a lot of time to write the file. But ideally, I would keep it to be 128. So at the max, you can change it to, I would say, below 1 MB, I would say. You shouldn't have a buffer size greater than an MB, because that again increases the load on the connection settings. So I've never changed it, but
no problem.
We have known cases on this, so
yeah, understood.
We're experienced.
So another thing on the next log level, I'm just curious to understand what sort of logging is this? Does this log while we attempt to make the SFTP connection, so it logs the trace while connecting to SFTP or something like that? What exactly is this logging? I mean, if we select trace, what would it log?
So in your message processing log, it just tries to log the events that happened in the SFTP. So something like opening connection to host, and then using user ID, etc. All those things it tries to log in.
So that is as good as if you connect to any SFTP server through a FileZilla client, you see a console on the top. So that sort of logging will show means from client to server side of logging, something like that.
Yes, I would like to believe so. I have again never checked onto the traces of the SFTP server, but yeah, that would be the trace that is.
Okay. No, yeah, fine.
So it says that it logs the start complete log line on polling. So when it is trying to poll, maybe that time it just creates a trace over there for SFTP.
And where can I see these trace in the console?
I'm sorry?
Where can I see the trace? I mean, where can I read these log files?
In the message processing log. So like you have anywhere over here, you can have the message processing log. Yeah, over here. So like even for, if you search for OData, like let me search for this, if it has. So even like for OData, that is one single step. It gives you all the logging steps, like what was the path, what is the path to EDMX that it is trying to access, what were the headers that were set, what is the, usually it doesn't log the body that we are trying, but it shows you all the different steps that it is covered. Like for example, in script, if I would say, so where is the script? Okay, let's take an example on email. So it has all the different steps like SAP attachment remove all, as it mentioned clearly that it doesn't support attachment, so it removes them all. Then you have the set header as the subject, and from, to, and the content type. Set body as $in.body. And similarly for script file, it sets. So it logs in all the trace levels. So it shows up over here, but I have never analyzed it that deep to compare, to be able to compare it with the trace level that we see in FileZilla or any of the other clients, like STP or anything like that. I've never tried that basically, because we usually have requirements to write the log files, and those two very specifically error log files. So they are small in content based on, I mean, I have that confidence on my design that the error should be as minimal as possible. But yeah, sometimes due to unavoidable situations and factors wherein a few of the validations may fail. So in those kind of cases, we may have a huge file, but currently we are also in a testing phase only. I have never seen any file as of now on HCI. We weren't fortunate enough to work on that. So maybe we may have some more use cases going down the line.
Yeah, not a problem. Understood. Thanks, Aditya.
Sure. Okay, so coming on to the sender specific channels. Again, we have the directory, then the file name. File name, it as in PI, it supports wildcard characters, wherein you can have file underscore star.csv. So this is supported, or .txt, anything that you would like. So these kind of annotations are supported in this. It supports the wildcard characters. Also, if nothing is mentioned, it tends to read all the files. Let's say there are two files or multiple files which match the file name convention that you have written. So it reads them in sequence. Like the first file is read, it is sent as one message into the iFlow. Then the second file is read, it is sent as second message in the iFlow. Now that is the case wherein you have the use case of aggregator, one of the shapes that we saw in HCI, the aggregator. So aggregator waits till you specify the condition to be met. So let's say you know that the file number 1 will have a header as start, and the file number n in sequence will have an end of file or a footer record as end. So you can specify those kind of conditions, and it will verify that, okay, the last record has come. So it aggregates all the messages into one huge payload, and it takes it from there. Now, again, that is just a theoretical knowledge even that I have on aggregator. As I mentioned earlier, that we haven't used it in a working condition, but I have been told that it is in cases of, if you know, SAP has a mechanism to hold up the IDOCs and you can process them all at once using a job. So it can be compared to a similar functionality in HCI, wherein whatever documents are coming, you just keep on aggregating them till the end of the record condition is met. And once that is met, you just go ahead and execute the full payload at once. So you can hold the payloads in runtime until unless you receive all of them. Okay. Again, we have address, the authentication type, timeout, etc. And Once these parameters, which are same, we move on to another tab, which is processing. So processing gives you whether you wish to have a read lock strategy applied on this. You can